What's up, guys? This is the Kinda Funny Gamescast. I am Tim Gettys. I'm here with Colin Moriarty.
Hello.
Greg Miller.
Hi, I'm getting the dog to drink water so Colin doesn't kill him. That's why I have two waters. One's for me and one's for Portillo.
He won't drink water.
Mm-hmm.
Portillo has no survival instincts.
No.
It's like he is the living embodiment of Darwinism, of survival of the fittest. Of like he doesn't know to drink water. He'll come to bed all night long. And it's like you're thirsty, and then if he doesn't drink or eat, because you gotta praise him to eat. If he does neither, he has a seizure. It's like
So different than us.
Yeah, thank God he's here with us.
Team
Team Fat for life.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first episode of this show. Now, if you're familiar with us for any reasons as video game dudes, or as us from the Game Over Grady show, this is combining those two worlds.
Right.
Which is pretty exciting. So
Yes.
you're getting the same thing you know from the Game Over Grady show, topic by topic, Monday through Thursday. Full episode on Friday. You can get it on iTunes, SoundCloud, all those places for free. A week later, if you want it early, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. That whole rigmarole, you should know it well by now.
I introduced the word rigmarole to your life, right?
And I loved it.
Okay, just making
It is a great word.
It's a great word. It's just funny
really
how
good.
it's now a thing. Every podcast, every video.
It's a really, really, really good thing.
Yeah.
If you just want to buy the newest episode, you can go to Bandcamp. kindoffunnygame.bandcamp.com. We're still working on this a little bit.
I mean, we should point out, Tim,
Yeah.
you're hosting.
Oh, I'm hosting.
It's finally
Yeah, I'm
happened.
pretty happy
Hashtag
about
let
this.
Tim host is happening here. There it is.
Thank you for your support. ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah.
You made this happen. And I'm pretty excited about it. This is going to be a weekly thing, just like the Game Over Grady show.
Right.
But every week we talk about all the video game stuff, all
Yeah.
the biggest news that's happening, whatever we want to talk about.
Right.
It's liberating.
This is the big topic picture. This is the big picture podcast. Colin and I, of course, are over on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames,
Yes.
doing a daily talk show about comics, games, movies, everything, the biggest stories. Here's where we can come in and get nitty gritty with like giant topics and wrestle
Like
around
super
with them,
nerd out
roll
with it.
around, take our shirts off,
Oh, yeah.
rub down.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a better group of gentlemen that I would like to do this show with.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is going to be good. And the plan for the show is that it's going to be us.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, we'll have Nick come on.
Yeah. Oh, there'll be every once in a while there'll be an ever rotating fourth chair.
Oh, there
Whoever
you
we
go.
want can bring in
Yeah.
and come on. It's
And we got some cool guests planned.
of course.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Here's what I want to call out already, and I'm sure the comments on YouTube and of course over on Patreon are exploding. I love your NPR voice.
This is my NPR voice.
You're very. I think maybe probably because you hear it, you're more subdued. You sound very intelligent.
This is weird. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Just the headphones. I'm not used to this at all.
Yeah, this is usually Nick's job.
Nick's, now I understand why he's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we can chalk
That's
it all up
probably
to
the
the
reason
audio.
why.
10% of
Yeah.
it comes from that.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about 2014. It's now 2015. We don't have jobs anymore.
Right.
This is now our job. And that's a eye-opening thing for me. But 2014 brought us a lot of good games.
Oh yeah.
What's our game of the year for 2014?
Greg?
South Park.
Oh.
South Park is game of the year,
That's a
and
good
I've gone around. I've had a rigmarole about what game I would pick as game of the
No,
year.
I don't think you're using that word right there. No. You can't just put it out wherever you want.
You just roll into the ring.
Yesterday I went to my sandwich shop and rigmarole.
Oh,
Here I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
South Park is the one that stands out for me. It's the one it was the first game I played that year where I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm enjoying every moment. Brian Altano, I always tell a story of us texting back and forth all weekend. Like, did you get to this part? What did you do here? How did, and like, I hadn't had that experience with other games that year, and granted, it was an early game, and then the rest of the year still. Like, there's great games that I want to give shout-outs to. A lot of shout-outs coming my way.
Oh, yeah.
But my pick for game of the year is South Park.
Okay. Colin?
My pick would be Shovel Knight, and I'm wearing my Shovel Knight
There you
shirt
go.
right
Well
now. It's funny because all of the great... I don't want to say all of them. Because I play... Oh, you hit the light? Yeah, it's all right. We're working all the kinks out. Three of my favorite games of the year all came out really towards the first half of the year, and that would be South Park's one of those games, Child of Light, and Shovel Knight. But in terms of pure gameplay is king, as I always say. I made up that term. If you hear that term anywhere else, it's because I made it up.
You coined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I coined Bro Shooter, and I coined
Bro Shooter.
Yeah.
You're going to take credit for
I'm
Bro
definitely
Shooter.
taking credit for Bro Shooter, and I'm taking credit certainly, real credit, not fake credit. Like I was taking credit for Bro Shooter. I'm going to take real credit for whatever the hell that is I just said. But Shovel Knight is gameplay. Gameplay is king, and it harkens back to these NES days, these pure gameplay days where there was limited tools for the developers to use, limited art assets, hex graphics, parallax scrolling, all of this weird stuff that like you really need to have a great
To get Colin.
8-bit side scroller,
Yeah.
or it can be a 16-bit side scroller, or 30, whatever. But
Side scroll is all you need.
exactly, this game just plays like a dream. It's part Capcom's DuckTales, it's part Zelda 2, it's part Mario 3, it's part Mega Man 2, it's part Ninja Gaiden, it's part Castlevania. There's a lot of great, and the weird thing about that is that those aren't just throwaway games. Those are all fantastic games. If you were to make a list of the top 20 NES games, every one of those games would be on that list. You know, all 3 Ninja Gaidens, all 6 Mega Mans, all 3 Castlevanias.
Sure.
You know, Zelda 2, DuckTales. They're all, so they didn't just be like, we're gonna borrow a little bit from Metal Storm, we're gonna borrow a little bit from. Well, they did borrow from Faxanadu a little bit, but not just these regular games. So it was a really special game, and I think people were really surprised by it.
Sure.
And it's not my only complaint is it's not very hard. It's not a very hard game, and I want the games to be harder, but I do agree with you. South Park, fantastic.
Right, you went into a lot of depth on why you liked it, right? I think for South Park it was
Sorry,
the fact that no, it's great.
We're figuring it out.
This is how the game over. What show is this? Kinda Funny Gamescast works.
Yeah.
This table, we all talk about whatever we want. No, that's the thing for South Park and why it stood out to me is that super funny. I mean, it's so hard to make a funny video game, right? Because like, comedy's all about
timing.
Exactly.
Damn,
You like that?
I like that.
And a pregnant pause.
Yeah, when people stop, they look at their MP3 player,
I love
their
pregnant
YouTubes. All about timing. So to put that into a game world is difficult, to say the least. But like South Park did it by, first off, like having the game looks like the show.
And that's what's crazy. I remember a long time ago playing Simpsons Wrestling on the PS1 and being like, this looks just like the show. It's like, was I stupid?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It was horrible. But looking at South Park, like I showed my brother and he actually thought it was South Park.
Right.
Like until you see the the commands come up.
Once the HUD pops up,
Yeah,
But like when you're
besides
actually
that.
playing it and then jumping into it and the fact that it was like, I think Ryan McCaffrey always says that it's like the next season. It's like this entire season's long story, and it is. And I love that. And I always think it gets a bad rap from people of like, oh sure, but I don't like South Park. And it's like, well, or I'm not up to date on South Park. I'm like, I hadn't watched South Park in years and jumped into this game and had so much fun. And it wasn't about like callbacks as much as it was about right now and them having a commentary on video games, on role playing, all these different things. And then for me, the turnoff for me with RPGs a lot of time is how complicated they get and how much stuff is happening. People knock the combat system of South Park. I liked it.
No, I liked it too.
Sure, it was simple, but it wasn't simple where I'm like just button mashing and not paying attention. It was Custom Quest simple, where there's a sense of timing in what I'm doing, and that mattered.
Yeah, it's
I
similar
enjoyed
to the Mario RPG games.
Right.
And that's awesome. Like they're fun. It's a little more action-y than the whole like just grindy stuff, but like I liked it. Really, really good. Going back to Shovel Knight real quick, how do you think that compares to the NES games? Like, would you put that in the same caliber as them? Though?
No, I mean, yeah, I would, and I wouldn't. I mean, I think that those games are products of their time. So, like, when I judge a game like Mario 3 or something, it's so impressive. Today, I still think Mario 3 is a 10, actually. You know, that was made in 1987 and 88, or released in 88, obviously in Japan, 90 here, and that game is a product of the limitations of that time. In other words, my assumption is that if Shovel Knight was put on an NES cartridge, it wouldn't work, because there's certainly things it's doing that shouldn't be doing. But you know, nonetheless, like I think that it's more apt to compare it to Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 or Blood Rain Betrayal or like one of these like really old school side scrollers that are made today. And I think that it's just a fantastic game. It understands what it is, and I think that that's really cool. It's new and unique, and you can see a lot of different games, and especially for people that grew up with NES like we did, like it is one of those special games. But I know for a fact on Twitter and you know on IGN, people have mentioned to us, you know, I'm 16, I'm 18, I play this game. They have no frame of reference really, and it's still a great game to them too. And that's how I know when I hear things like that this game's really special. In terms of South Park, if it wasn't for Child of Light, I think South Park would certainly be my game of the year, because I agree with you. I haven't watched South Park regularly since 2000 maybe, 2001. So. And I've seen maybe a handful of episodes at all since then.
And they're amazing. Always.
It is a great show, and I never had a problem with it. It's like I authentically don't like The Simpsons, for instance. Like I actually don't like that show. And like, sorry, I'm offending Kevin.
Gonna be upset.
But like South Park was just one of those things where I'm like, I'm just, you know, I'm not into it anymore. It's fine. It's funny. They're very funny characters. It's great writing. And
it's fine.
It's
The South Park.
And
it's not your thing.
It made me laugh out loud. It made me like laugh from my stomach. Like that game, I don't think a game's ever made me laugh more than a couple times ever.
Yeah.
And the fact that this game was funny, it engaged my girlfriend in the sense where she was watching and she was doing her Cartman impression and stuff like that I didn't even know she could do, which was like hilarious. And it was a well-told story, and I think the combat's actually really good too. I think the one problem with the game was the way it ran, and that it's easy to it's like what we talk about with Bethesda games. It's easy to overlook some of the technical flaws of a game when they're so good. And I think that was the thing with South Park, was they had hiccups for a few people. Some people had like save corruption, I think, and like frozen game stuff. I never had any problems with that.
For mine, it would be like there'd be a frame stop, and then it would speed up and catch up to where I was. But it was always like entering a new area and walking. It wasn't like I blew the game.
But I loved it. And I'll tell you guys two things about this game. One is that I hope that they do another one. And I think Obsidian's capable of doing another one. I think that money was made on this game. I think it surprised a lot of people. It certainly charted on MPD. Extra costs were involved with developing for such a long time. Obviously, it was in a series in limbo, in development hell, literally for a while when THQ went down. But
but even on top of that, I love them to make another one. I would love them to port the current one to Vita and just do it all over again. The problem with
I don't think could run it.
I know. Doing a sequel though, the problem with is the fact that it was Matt and Trey that the reason it's so funny is that they were so hands-on with it. I remember doing the Comic-Con panel with them where they're making jokes about never wanting to do it again, but there's it was ringing true too, because they're used to writing their script and getting it out, and everybody knows how crazy their process is to make an episode of South Park. A game was even worse, right? And them doing all these voices, this, that, and the other. I don't think you'll ever get them to do it again.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I think that their involvement was essential, obviously, just like it is for the show's longevity. I think the other interesting thing that we have to consider is that this game was supposed to come out at a certain time. Obviously, THQ went down, but even when it was reacquired by another publisher, it was supposed to come out earlier. This is a great example of a game needing more time and getting more time and it working out.
Right.
We often talk about that when we did Podcast Beyond on with The Last of Us, which is a great example. Like, they swear, Naughty Dog swears up and down, left and right, that game was the 6 weeks that they got to polish that game was the difference between it being good and being great.
Right.
And they got even more time over at Obsidian, and Obsidian's doing a lot of other stuff right now. So I'm sure that they were stressed out with that, but they did a really nice job. That was my biggest surprise of the year, was that game. I just didn't expect to like it like that, you know. And up and down, left and right, I wanted that game to be 3 times longer. I wanted it to be, bulkier and bigger, but it was perfect kind of the way it was.
Yeah, exactly. It left me wanting more, right? I didn't burn out. I don't look back at it, and I think, how so many games end with such a bullshit boss battle. I don't look back. That's not my memory. My memory is playing through and my dad's balls swinging above me as he was having sex with me. I'm and fighting the underwear gnomes and doing all these things, and Mr. Hanky. It's like, there were so many things to that game where in the beginning you start, you're like, I can't wait to see Mr. Hanky. And I had forgotten all about him until you run into him. It's like, oh, right, God.
My child.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. There's so many chances for that game to have failed so miserably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on.
Commercially and critically, and it didn't.
exactly.
It didn't either way. That was the really surprising thing. I guess I underestimated South Park's pull still. Much like I underestimated Simpsons' pull still.
Sure.
It's like, why is the show still on? Well, people are watching. Millions of people still watching. Right. It's the same thing with South Park. So it's I agree. I mean, critically, certainly it was a big surprise for me, because it reminded me a lot of the way people felt about Wolfenstein, which was, I think people were unimpressed in preview coverage or just didn't really know what the game was. Yeah. And that happened to Wolfenstein too, and then they ended up actually being way better than people thought. So it's actually kind of pleasant. That usually doesn't happen like that. Usually you get a pretty good idea of if a game's going to be worth your time or not pretty early.
Well, the thing about South Park, remember, is that they hid it for so long. Nobody saw that game for so long, and then finally we all got to, not all of us, but I went with a bunch of other games journos and got to play it at Ubisoft. And I was like, wait, this seems awesome. They let us play it from the start, and it's like, I wasn't expecting this. And
I remember when you guys first came back from that event, you were like, no, guys, it's good. And everyone was like,
nobody believed
really?
it, right? Yeah.
No way.
And that was the same thing with Wolfenstein. Is Damon and I kept going to PAX.
We went to PAX and stuff.
And you'd play it again and again. And you're like, this seems like it's fun. Is that right? Is that okay?
Are we allowed
am I allowed to be excited for this? I remember asking people. Yeah,
that game was really surprising.
Yeah, well, you guys are wrong, because the game of the year is obviously Super Smash Brothers.
That's a great choice.
Like, we all knew that I was going to say that, but my God, it's so good. It's so, whether it's on the 3DS or Wii U. Now, granted, the Wii U is way better. Yeah, way better. But I
3DS it's gentrified, because if you're an original 3DS owner like myself, you can't play it. It's too small. You can't see what's happening. But when I went and played it on the 3DS XL, I was like, all right, this is awesome.
It's like, this is better. Yeah. It's still not perfect, but just the fact that I get to play Smash wherever I want. And like, originally when they first announced that the 3DS one was coming out before the Wii U, I was like, okay, Nintendo, you're just throwing it in, like, you're giving up on the Wii U, and this is the sign of that, whatever. And now I'm like, nah, they just wanted to give the demo for people to, like, tell them you need the better version of this, right? And, like, I feel like, did that work to sell Wii U's? I don't know.
Probably I think it was the reverse, right? I think if you would have put out the Wii U version, nobody would have cared as much about the 3DS version.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, they don't, I mean, they need people to care about it because they need people to buy it. Sure. The 3DS is a success. Right. The Wii U is not. So they'd want to, like, try to get people to get the Wii U one first. But the 3DS one, I'm happy at the end of the day that it came out first, because that gave me a month and a half of, like,
Practice.
No, just like a different experience, really. There's so much different stuff with that game, like the single player mode specifically, that I loved. And then
did you like the whole stupid run through the area and beat
hated it? Smash Run,
yeah,
garbage,
thank you.
Total garbage. But like there was a lot of other stuff in it that I did like. But the Wii U one brings back the event mode and like all the stuff that I loved about the other games. And man, just the multiplayer. Like we have so much fun playing that.
Yeah. You can watch it right here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames.
Yeah, it is an unrivaled party game, and that series really always has been. Because I mean, even on N64, just by the nature of N64's 4 ports and stuff, it was the same reason why GoldenEye worked and stuff like that. Like you could involve more people and get people involved in 2-player matches, whatever you wanted to do. But it just was an engaging kind of game even when that came out, and it always was that on GameCube and then on Wii and then on Wii U. I think with this particular Smash Brothers release, it's fun. I love it. It's impeccable. Nintendo's production values are impeccable. The fact that their game works is impeccable. They don't need to patch their stuff. Like it's typically they go above and beyond like what they need to do or what. No, that's not true. They go they go way above and beyond what other publishers do in terms of quality, and that shows in their games, in their first party.
Yeah, that's why they stand out. It's why you always cite them as their games are released and work.
Yeah,
and it's a giant failure of anything.
They have QA and they well, everyone has QA, but their QA works and it's. But I will say that the game, no jump will ever be as significant to me in that series as the jump from N64 to GameCube.
Oh, sure,
and I don't think that. I don't think the game has legs for me. Like I think that it'll be fun to always play with other people.
Yeah.
But as a gamer myself, as a single player gamer, I'm never gonna sit there and play it. That's why I kind of like Subspace Emissary on Melee, which was on Brawl because at least it gave me something to kind of do. And you're always collecting trophies and there's always like kind of a single player component, but I felt like that was cohesive and it was fun, and you wanted to see the next stupid cutscene about how these characters.
The cutscenes made it worth it. Like that mode was really bad, really, when you think about it. But like, it was still fun, and it was worth it just to get the cutscenes. But Melee had the adventure mode, which was that minus the cutscenes.
Right.
But the gameplay was better in the adventure mode.
Yeah.
And then they just gave up in this one. There just isn't a single player.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem because I think that there's a few things that are clear with this game. It's going to be a huge hit for Nintendo and stuff like that, but it's not going to push an astronomical amount of Wii U. So this is going to be a game that is out there for a limited number of people. And they're going to therefore have, either their friends over or they can play online, and it does work online. We've played it online.
Yeah.
What up, Frank?
But essentially and ultimately, I think that like they've hurt themselves by not implementing more of a single player mode into this series. And I wonder if they're going to. I feel like they could do so much more. The Wii U is so much more. I mean, it's funny because it's not nearly as powerful as PS4 and Xbox One, but so much more capable of receiving DLC and receiving patches and being able to be built upon that. This becomes more of a platform as opposed to Brawl, which was released as, and I really love Brawl as a kind of a standalone product that it was what it was and it was always going to be.
Yeah.
That. I think that it's the same way when we talk about Gran Turismo and those kinds of things, like where in the future these are going to become platforms, and Super Smash Brothers ultimately, maybe on their next console or the next handheld, or hopefully a fusion of the two, is just Super Smash Brothers, and it's just a thing that they build for years.
Right. Two things. Number one, rotate your headphones to get your cord off your microphone. You're doing a great job of hosting.
Yeah.
Number two, I think that it's crazy for you to, or not crazy, I shouldn't say. I didn't expect you to say it doesn't have legs, because for me, Super Smash Brothers is the first Wii U game I've bought where I'm like, I'm gonna turn this on regularly to play with other people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they'll add a single player mode to it, and I do think that this is Nintendo playing to what their console is. Their console is a machine that gets turned on at irregular intervals to be played for whatever the big thing is, right? So the fact that you already have a machine that is, it's just a toy. Like, this is what you do. You don't play it every day. You play it when you want to play the new Mario or the Zelda or whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is the same thing. You only turn it on to play this game when you want to play with other people, whether it be online, whether it be for everybody. And that was a weird thing when when it was coming out and people were like, this is going to sell units and stuff. And I was like, is it? Like, I feel like this is a game that I love, and I love Smash. And when I finally got a Wii U, it was definitely for Mario Kart and it was for Smash. But I feel like that's how most gamers were. I didn't know many gamers who were still holding on, being like, I'm going to buy it when Smash comes out. You already bought it saying, I'm going to get it when Smash comes out.
See, the thing there is there's 5 friends I have that are friends that aren't like hardcore gamers, bought Wii U's for Smash.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that happened in the last month. And granted, a lot of it was Christmas presents and stuff like that, but that's what they wanted. They were like, girlfriends were buying it for their boyfriends and all this stuff, and it's just like, they wanted a Wii U to be able to play Smash with their friends and online and all that stuff. And like, I foresee that happening for years. You know what I mean? Like, just We were playing Brawl up until 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna play this.
But you
one.
guys are crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not like normal people.
Brawl's a different beast. I still think that like Brawl. I like Brawl a lot. I think I like Brawl more than a lot of people like it. But it was on a proliferated machine later in its life cycle that was just out there more. I think people were surprised. I was more surprised that Mario Kart didn't sell more units, and when it didn't, not software but hardware. Like it wasn't pushing. It bumped hardware, but it wasn't like this plateau and then skyrocket from there. So that was the harbinger for Smash Brothers, because that was the last game that was really gonna be able to do that. Not even Zelda's going to do it. Everyone forgets that. We've often cited the numbers with Zelda, which is really the last big game that's coming out, unless they do a 3D Mario, which I'm sure they're going to obviously release and they've announced or whatever. But like Zelda Skyward Sword sold fewer units than Uncharted 3. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that was on a system there was almost 100 million of them at the time.
Yeah, there was a great install base.
So like Wii U is what it is, and Smash Brothers is its paramount game right now. I think Zelda's probably going to be that for a lot of people. That game looks awesome. But I think it's a good choice for Game of the Year. I was just surprised by how it resonated with me and how I'll always play it, just like I always play Brawl or Melee with people. I haven't played the N64 one in years, probably since high school, but and I don't know how it would stand up. But nothing's going to ever be that jump from N64 to GameCube, and therefore I'm never going to be that impressed with it, because I think the major problem with it too is its roster of characters, because it's just, I wanted more. There's a lot of the same characters, a lot of Fire Emblem characters, a lot of like, it's just like
awesome.
Yeah, but it's just like
they're not like getting you excited. Maybe you nerd. You like shirtless Shulk. That's all you like.
But he's not Fire Emblem.
Yeah, Xenoblade.
Oh, I'm sorry. Some other fucking franchise no one's heard of. All right.
Well, Fire Emblem's a big. I have no problem with Fire Emblem characters being in it, but it's like these guys. I don't even know the difference between these guys, like aesthetically or by skill set.
There was a couple choices on the roster that just make no sense, like Lucina and Marth being literally the same, and Dr. Mario coming back. It's like, what? Why would you even waste that?
Therefore, no, and no Ice Climbers, which is a big problem for me. Because I really do love the Ice Climbers. But even like, it's just so funny. There are characters that they can work into this series, like third-party characters even.
Simon Belmont.
Yeah, Simon Belmont's a great choice. Mega Man getting in there was awesome, but I've always said that Dr. Wily as a Pokemon trainer-like character would have been awesome. And like, I was hoping someone would steal that idea. They're much smarter people than me at Nintendo that maybe have come up with that independently, and like, just, it's so brilliant. He stands in the background and uses robots. There's a lot of different characters they can draw from their history to make it a more interesting roster. That said, this was a good example and a good reminder to us, because we liked PlayStation All-Stars, about why this game works and All-Stars didn't, because I think All-Stars was a very mechanically sound game made by fighting game pros, and I think that in some ways that game was a more true and a deeper fighting game.
Than Smash?
Yeah, in its own way. We've talked about this.
In some ways.
We've talked about this many times. Like,
what's one way?
Well, I think that the meter building is really interesting, because it's really all about. It's not about chip damage. It's really about meter building, in which you can unleash these things that might not hit, and so you have to build it to level 3 where you can use it to scatter everyone. We talked about this many times before. I don't want to bore people with it. They've probably heard it before, but Smash Brothers is a unique game that All-Stars probably should have just totally aped, as opposed to
That's my biggest problem with All-Stars, is it didn't copy Smash.
It copied to 90%, and you go that final 10, and that's why it doesn't feel as great.
Yeah,
but it definitely had. I mean, that game definitely had chops that I think were that people didn't expect, and then I think surprised some people, and that some people just don't see or refuse to acknowledge that they're there. That said, I haven't played that game in a long time either. I don't care about that game anymore. But again, the roster of All-Stars and the roster of Smash is a good example why Smash just works, because man, these characters are timeless. I mean, it doesn't. There's nothing like that. No one else can do a game like this, and that's what makes it uniquely Nintendo. That's what makes me excited about it. But at the same time, like, I wonder in a year if I'm going to care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long tail. You brought up in passing, you guys, Mario Kart. Mario Kart came out this year, and what's still mind-boggling to me is that if you would have talked to me a year ago, 365, I would have told you I cannot wait for Mario Kart, and I'm sure I'll play Smash. Yeah. And Mario Kart came, and I had one great weekend with it, and then I was like, eh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about this Mario Kart, and I kept saying, this makes me feel like I've finally gotten old, but I'm finally an old man and no longer a kid. But there's something about the one genre of games I'm good at, and I feel like I can always hold my own as a kart racer. And the problem with Mario Kart is I feel like I get fucked over left and right. And, like, where you're going and everything's fine, you're neck and neck with somebody, then I'm hit, and then once you fall back to 5th or 6th, it's over. Yeah. You aren't getting...
You're just getting hit a million times.
You're not getting items to get you in front of anybody, and you're getting hit all the time by red shells and crap. And so, like... It's like, whereas Smash, and this goes back to what you're talking about, I think, about how PlayStation All-Stars might have been a more pure fighter, and maybe one of the reasons that more people backed off. Smash is still anybody's game. Even when we play, right? Final Destination, no items. It's still anybody's matchup. You get a chance to do stuff, right?
Yeah, especially when playing 8-player Smash.
Exactly. But like Mario Kart, I felt like there gets to be those points where like you do not have a chance. There's no way this is turning around. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my own shortcomings of skills or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what happened, and that's what I couldn't believe. I was so ready for Mario Kart and so ready to just DLC. Yeah, give it me everything.
The DLC is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, but like I can't even motivate myself to get it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like I can't even get motivated to download it and do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do Let's Plays here if people want on Kinda Funny Games. But like,
that'd be a good idea.
it's just like outside, like we could finish right now and then blow off work and go play Smash, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But like I'm never gonna be like, let's play Mario Kart, guys.
Yeah,
Let's get into
yeah.
Mario Kart right now.
What's interesting to me is with Smash and Mario Kart, I feel like the Wii U, not too many people have it. But people that do have it, I feel like a lot of them love it a lot. If you're into it, like me specifically, I love my Wii U. And I feel like Mario Kart and Smash are just the HD versions, like the perfect versions of these games we always wanted. But for some reason, that might feel like it's not enough. And I feel like Mario Kart's an example of that, where it's like, this is Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But why do I care?
Yeah.
See, what's interesting is I think Smash it's on my short list of things I jotted down for what I wanted Game of the Year wise, right, and where it would be from. Definitely the most fun I had multiplayer for sure. But like I feel when you bring it up and people scoff, it's just more Smash Brothers. Like, well, yeah, but Smash is awesome, and like we're talking about the best game this year. I know that sure, it looks like the last 3 iterations in this way and that way, but there's something to that, right? That's why it works.
And also all the new characters, like I'm finding myself playing with majority new characters. And that's awesome, and I love it.
Link, Blue Tunic, that's all I play.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Bowser Jr., love. Shulk, love. Charizard, who's old, but he has some new moves, like, love. It's great. Like, I think it's really cool, and the most important thing to me is the fact that this has people that have never even played a Smash game loving it. Kevin doesn't play Smash. Loves this game. Any chance he gets to play it with us, he's like, let's do it, let's go. Alexis, in love with it. Like,
she never played before.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that them just falling in love with Smash Brothers, period, as a franchise? I mean, like, because like I remember when N64 came out and we got that and we were like, what the?
Yeah.
I mean, we went crazy for Smash.
It's just, that just shows how good the game is, though.
Sure.
Like these people that don't necessarily play every game are like, I want to play this, and will love it just as much as I do when we're playing.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. But there was a lot of other games that came out this year.
Shout out, we haven't given Mario Golf. Come on. Mario Golf. I put 85 hours into Mario Golf. Had a standing tee time at work. Participated in the online tournaments. Did everything. I mean, like.
It didn't do it for me.
That game was awesome.
Yeah, but I didn't play it.
It's not indie. You don't care.
No, it's the hardware that it's on.
Yeah.
3DS just, I don't know. Like, I just don't want to play games on it. Like, it's just the game has to be like really, really special for me to want to play it on the 3DS. It's just not a good piece of hardware to me.
I think for me it was just first off that I love Mario Golf, and I know you love Mario Golf too.
I do. I'm a huge fan of Mario Golf.
Just the fact that all of a sudden we had a crew that was ready to play Mario Golf 2, and the fact that it's what Nintendo does best, right? Local multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
Like every morning coming into work and me and Mitch sitting down and playing, and then Jose would join, somebody else would pick it up, and you know what I mean, all these different things. Or like doing the tournaments, putting them online as private and just playing with best friends out there who want to go ahead and use the friend code and be part of that. That was awesome, let alone how solid the mechanics are. The mechanics are still Mario Golf, right? Again,
yeah, they are, but it's
back
just
to another Mario game that's just what you expect.
It just seems like a waste to me to not put it on. I was frustrated enough that there was nothing on Wii. I mean, I loved the Mario Golf on N64 and GameCube, especially GameCube. I love the GameCube one a lot.
And Tour?
Yeah, and I think those are great games. I think that's a game made for a TV, and the Wii U needs that game. Like I think that especially when we see the way Mario Kart and Smash look. To me, when I downloaded it, I was really disappointed with it because I was just like, I just don't. And it's not the game, 'cause I'm sure the game's fine.
Yeah.
It's just like I just don't. And maybe it's just because I have the original 3DS too. It's just like I just don't want to play on this. I just don't.
Dude,
especially
you need an XL.
Yeah, but we also
especially
need
next to the
$150 we have in our pocket. You know what I mean?
No,
Like that was my whole thing.
it's-
Is like I'm like this is an iPad 2, right? Like I'm very much like it isn't broken, right? Like I upgraded my phone when the 5 stopped doing things it's supposed to do. It's like all right, fine. But like the 3DS does everything it should do, so the game should look good. You know what I mean? Like
You're crazy. Yeah, see, I guess I'm just so different. I want the newest iPad. I want the newest phone. I definitely want the newest 3DS.
See, the 3DS, though, this is my thing, and this is my thing with Nintendo, right? Or Nintendo products, is that I buy those knowing these are only going to get select use.
Yeah.
Like, right now, if they launched a new Wii U with a thinner tablet with better battery and a multi-touch screen like it should have had from the get-go, I'd still have to be like, no.
Yeah.
I only play this 3 times a year, really, with the exception of Smash every so often. But, I mean, like, my PlayStation 4, right, is on every day, whether it's playing games or me watching something on Netflix or buying something off Amazon or doing whatever, right? There's something there motivating me to use it. Same thing with the Xbox One. If they're like, hey, new Xbox One, slimmer design, blah, blah. I'm like, well, no, I don't use mine that much. And when I do, it works fine. So why would I care? You know what I mean?
I agree.
That's my thing. I can't wrap my head around putting on another 150. Is that even right? 180, I think, maybe? For an XL?
XL, I think it's 180.
So yeah, and I just don't even want it because it's just like, what am I?
I want it bad. Nintendo, I want it.
No,
Send it to me.
I mean, I don't, just because it's like I don't want things that I'm gonna use just a few times. Like, you know, I have my 3DS. When a game a few times a year comes out that I want to play, like Gunvolt or you know, Zelda or whatever, then I'm gonna play it. But it's just one of those things where I'm fine with this little device. It hinders me from playing Smash. It hinders me from playing maybe Mario Golf, whatever. But at the same time, we've made the comparison many times before that I can't. Like I can't like I just you put the thing next to the Vita and it's like give me a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm sorry. Like I've said it so many times. I know it irritates some people and I'm sorry about that. But it's just like one device is like a real electronic device and one is just
one's a toy. And I don't. And
know?
People when I say that, people think I'm taking a shot at Nintendo. The Wii U and the 3DS are toys, and that's not a bad thing. I love playing with toys. I love playing with those systems, but I don't look at them as basically a computer that's plugged into my TV doing amazing things, like I do with my PS4 or Xbox One, seeing how they're pretty much interchangeable.
See, the Wii U changed that for me though. Like seeing Mario Kart and like just how beautiful it looks. And Mario 3D World, I think, was the first game that made me go, "Oh shit! Like this looks so good."
Right, and I'm not taking away from their technical prowess. I'm saying the experiences on them are akin to taking toys out of a toy box and putting them I'm putting my RC cars down and racing them against my friends and then putting them away and being done with it.
Yeah.
Whereas the PlayStation/Xbox, depending on your sway, right, is it's movies, it's TV, it's music, it's this narrative game, it's this toy box game, it's this, you know what I mean? Like it's hand over fist different experiences. Whereas Nintendo devices are Nintendo games, which I feel are. Oh, cool! What's the story of Mario? You're not playing that. You're playing it because it's fun to do this, that, and the other. Now, Mario, of course, is probably the one where it's like, that's a game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take away from it and what it does, but like the other ones are toy box games. I'm playing with toys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds like an insult, but I'm meaning toy in the best way. I played with toys throughout high school.
Toys.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, I mean, before we move on, I just want to give a couple shout-outs.
We're giving a lot of shout-outs here.
Both Danganronpa games, I think, are excellent. I think that series surprised a lot of people. I think that those games, the sales of those games certainly surprised a lot of people. The third one is coming out this year, and although it's not a core Danganronpa game, I think they will make a third real Danganronpa game. So I want to give a shout out to those. Give a shout out to Freedom Wars. I think that was a really really fun game that
another
that
great
occupied...
multiplayer game.
Yeah, it was.
Again, and that was mainly local. That was the one that. The best thing about Freedom Wars was playing it with Christine at the same time. We went to Missouri, and so what we would do, because we were on vacation, is wake up, go to a nice breakfast or lunch or whatever, then go to a coffee shop and spend 3 hours at the coffee shop playing Freedom Wars local on ad hoc. And
bunch of nerds.
Great. Total nerds. We did it on the plane. When I went to PlayStation Experience, I had that little meetup, right? Like, I love those kind of games. Freedom Wars definitely scratched the itch I have had on the Vita for the longest time of, I want a world to get invested in, not have a story I have to really keep up with, and level. Just go level things up and get more powerful and take on bigger enemies. And you know, it's the Monster Hunter vibe, right? But in a contemporary setting, if not a little bit far flung future, right? The fact that you're fighting giant monsters that are made of in a city and all this stuff, whereas like Monster Hunter again, getting too high fantasy for me with your goddamn dragons. I don't know what you can do with them.
Yeah, and I think that the final game that I would want to mention. Well, I mean, there's a lot of good games that I played this year that I really enjoyed, but Valiant Hearts I think is.
You're still on my list, but yes.
Valiant Hearts is a special game, and I'm surprised people didn't like it more. But World War I is an interesting thing to cover from a narrative standpoint because it's such a brutal and bloody war and really a pointless war.
Right.
And it was a war that was really the transition between not antiquity, but kind of more of a Victorian kind of. Feel to war to a more industrial type war, and so it really took a lot of lives in very violent ways, such as gassing and stuff like that. So it was just it explored all those interesting things. And as a history guy, as an historian, I guess technically, according to my diploma, technically,
no big deal. You just went to college.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not a practicing historian or whatever, but it's just like I like World War II is overwrought, Vietnam's overwrought, Korea. We could use more games about Korea, but no one touches World War I because it's. How do you do it?
Yeah.
And these guys figured out a way to do it. So because it's just trench warfare,
Right.
The line never moves. There's a lot of conflict in the beginning, and then just a bunch of stagnation for years, and then they basically end.
Well, that was what was so great about Valiant Hearts is getting out, introducing all these characters, separating them on different sides of the conflict or whatever, and making you care about all of them, and having that great narration. You know, what I mean, like it was funny, like I remember when the E3 trailer dropped, right, getting teared up watching it, and then not even the first time putting it all together that it was the dog talking, you know what I mean? And then at the end when I did, really getting choked up. And then to play that game and have that moment, like, that stretched out the entire game, where I cared, I was on the edge of my seat about what's going to happen to these people. And you're doing, like, cutesy, goofy puzzles, but you're doing it through, like, all right, there's this gas that's released that's killing everybody. How do you get through it? And there's all these bombs in the way, like, you got to get through. And all along the way, picking things up and, like, right, immediately wanting to jump out and see what the little history lesson was on it. Like, I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, let alone how good the story was, let alone how touching the text. Beautiful. Game's beautiful, too. Yeah. Such another one I want them to bring to Vita just so I have an excuse to replay it.
Guys, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments or wherever the hell you are watching or listening to this content.
Just scream at
if you're listening to it on Bandcamp, then just scream out where you are.
Just scream at us.
Now, I know you want to end it.
What?
I know you're trying to end it. You're trying to segue out of this already?
No, the topic? Oh, yeah.
Not the show. The show isn't one topic. I want to say...
You got more.
And again, these are just... Now we're just giving shout-outs here. I'm not saying
game of the games that came out in 2014. Destiny.
Yes! That's what I wanted to throw out is Destiny. That, again, for all of its problems, I think so much fun to play. Another game that I've had so much fun playing. It's the perfect game for streaming when I get to stream that and have somebody in the group and do all these different things. And it's basically why I love Freedom Wars on the PS4, right? I don't have to think about the story. I'm leveling up. I'm making progress. It's like DC Universe Online in the same way, right? I'm doing all, except I love everything about DC Universe Online. But, you're going through doing all these different things, building something. I also want to say Child of Light is overrated.
You're crazy.
Damn.
We'll leave that for another day. You're out of your mind.
Rolling that one out there.
You're out of
Did
your
Ground
mind.
Zeroes come out this year?
Yeah.
I liked that. Definitely not game of the year.
But your shout-outs material.
Favorite 2 hours of the year? Yeah, maybe.
Your favorite 2 hours of the year?
2 hours. I mean, I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah?
Like, I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it that much.
Here's my problem with Ground Zeroes is that, and it's something when we talk about quitting IGN and when we're going to have all this free time, we're going to stream all the time, I've kicked around the idea of trying to become the world's best Metal Gear Solid player again. Because I feel like in college with Metal Gear Solid 2, I was. I had everything, and I walked Poe through on the phone and stuff. The problem I had with Ground Zeroes was, and this is after Peace Walker being my favorite game of last generation, is that I felt so... I wasn't empowered. I wasn't Snake. I was a bumbling idiot, I felt like, in so many things, because there was so much going on that I was getting... Like, somebody across the thing is seeing me, and I'm like, mother... What was I supposed to do? You know what I mean? And then when I get through the story, which is one of those things where I felt like I got shot a million times and I'm just like trying to get to the exit, like I'm all bloody. When I get out and I go back into the missions, some of those missions, I just get dropped down and it's like, I don't want to go. Games have gotten so good, and maybe it's hand-holding, at making you feel powerful from the get-go. You're totally on point, and it's not easy, but like, not to the point where some of those missions, I don't want to fail 50 times to on the 51st time be like, oh, this is how I do the first part without getting found out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, I want to get through the mission perfectly after a few, not a few tries, maybe a dozen, but feel like I'm making that progress. Whereas with Metal Gear, it would just be like, the AI is so good, there's so many things happening, there's so many different people in sight lines that I'd start it and like spend like 5 minutes, like, all right, I've tagged everybody, now where oh, god damn it, this guy got me.
See, for me, there was so many moments that I was like, oh man, it'd be really cool if I could do this. And I'm like, oh wait, I can. Yeah. And that was crazy. It was like, I'm going to climb on there and then jump off this. And GTA had a very similar thing last year, where it's just like, holy crap, literally anything you want to do in this game.
You can see it, you can do it. Yeah.
And in Ground Zeroes, it was fun for me. Like, I just can't wait for Phantom Pain because I'm like, wow, like a whole game of that is going to be awesome.
And see, that's what I'm saying, is like, I think that if I put in the work, and I sit down and I to go through Ground Zeroes and stream it probably and do all these different things. By the time Phantom Pain comes, I won't be dropped in and feel like, well, what am I doing? Like, I'll know, AI a bit more and know where to go with this. How to
You're not wearing a chicken hat.
I'm not wearing a chicken hat.
Yeah, you know about the chicken hat?
Yeah, I know about the chicken hat.
I'm going to wear a chicken hat.
You're going to wear a chicken hat? No.